gentlemen, my name is Wendelin Baloca Camposo, a sophomore student of the course Bachelor of Secondary Education major in English. And today, we will discuss the term literature. Have you encountered the word literature before? Or do you know something about literature? Now, before proceeding to the discussion, let us know first the 5 guide questions that we need to follow in answering or in doing the discussion. First, what is literature? Of course, that is very important to know the definition or the meaning of the word itself before proceeding to another questions in order to avoid misleading ideas. Now, the second question is how important literature is, right? Why do we need to study literature? What does this literature can contribute to our lives? That is very important to know. The third one is, why do we need to study literature? What do you think? The fourth one is, what is the relationship between culture and literature? Maybe they are kind of related to one another, right? And the last question, or the fifth one, is what is the purpose of literature? Now, without further ado, let's proceed to the discussion. Let's start with question number 1. Or with the question, what is literature? Literature is the totality of preserved writings belonging to a given language of people. It is the class of writings of a given country or period which is notable for literary form or expression, from works merely of technical or erudite, from journalists and other ephemeral writings. It is also consists of those writings which interpret the meanings of nature and life and words of charms and powers, touch with the personality of the author in artistic forms of permanent interest. It is a product of life and is about life, and it uses language as medium. Literature is the record of all those that went beyond one's person experience to become a story of national, cultural, or universal human identity. Literature is ultimately the greatest time saver because it gives us access to a range of emotions and events that will take us years, decades, millennia just to try to experience directly. It is the greatest reality simulator machine that puts a person infinitely more on situations that he could ever directly witness. In general, literature is understood to refer to both written and occasional spoken content. The term literature most frequently refers to creative expressions of mind, such as poetry, drama, fiction, non-fiction, and in some cases, journalism and music. It could also be innovative or creative writing, particularly if it has been proven to have artistic merit. Reading books published by well-known authors is one way to enjoy literature, and doing so also helps us to learn more about the world, the historical events, folklore from the past, and other topics. Now, let's proceed to number 2, or how important literature is. And in discussing that question, we will be citing examples about that. Literature is highly important because these are the stories that prove us with cultural identity, stories that demonstrate common human experience, stories that help us understand essential parts of our life, such as death, birth, joy, and tragedy, and most of all, these are the stories that teach us who we were, who we are, and who we could be. Knowing literature helps us understand and appreciate our own heritage. By this, we can avoid ignorance and emptiness of knowledge when a person from another place, like for example from abroad, has the idea to inquire about it. Because what will you answer to a person when he asks, how did Rizal become the Philippine national hero? What is love? Who is the 11th century princess of Spain? What can you say about the tragedy of a certain novel by a famous artist? That's why literature is very important. Literature lets us safely see what it feels like to get divorced. It can make us feel guilt of killing, feel remorseful, choke in a job, take off of the desert, make a terrible mistake, and it makes us feel how it is like leading the whole country and more, just through reading. Literature introduces us to fascinating people, like for example, the pirate general, people across continents and centuries. It gives us the provincialism at almost no cost. Yes, you heard it right. And it can turn us to different citizens of the world coming from different countries. It allows us to consider the consequences of our actions and others in a way we otherwise would not. It shows us example of kindness, generosity, sympathy. Now, for the third question, why do we need to study literature? I will discuss 5 points in why do we need to study literature. And the first point is, we need to study literature in order for us to express one's life. Since literature can be connection of our life stories like autobiography, by studying literature for me, we can be capable of expressing ourselves to people. Make them know about you and let them know how you feel. The next point, or the second point, is that these writings helps us get access to different cultures in the world. Through studying and reading literature, we can be capable of to travel with no cost, saves our time and experience the various culture and tradition of each country. The third point is that this literature helps us recognize human dreams and struggles. Through reading literature itself, we can feel the emotions drawn by each character. We may be sympathetic, emotional, happy, joyful, remorseful, solely by studying, understanding, and interpreting literature. The next point is to shape one's own goals and values and clarify one's own identity. Meaning, the literature studies can make us find our identity of whom we are and who we can be. It provides a clearer picture of our role in a society and of our role as an individual. It can also help us set goals for ourselves, which is inspired from the literature we are reading. And the last point, or the fifth point, is that this helps us develop wider perspectives of events. Since literature helps us experience and see a range of emotions and events, we can broaden our perspective of each matter around us. It can help us think outside of the box and explore more than a single angle of a topic. Now, what is the relationship between culture and literature? The relationship between culture and literature is that through literature, a person can access and go travel to different countries with distinct cultures and traditions only by reading literature. Literature opens new windows for new perspective and it also welcomed the reader to experience different stories that went beyond one's cultural experiences. Literature holds the story of the culture, and it also preserves it. That's why both are highly important in one's life. And for the last question, what is the purpose of literature? The purpose of literature is to aid the ignorance of people about their culture, history, tradition, and country. Literature opens the mind of each reader that there are events from the past that is highly essential and plays a massive part in our lives. It fills our wonders with a range of discoveries of events that we do not know. It helps us to become more aware of who we are, where we came from, and who we can be in the future. Literature helps readers to know their identity. That will be all. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the discussion.